God bless everybody. Today it's April 2nd of 2024. This is a market update. Markets are struggling today on a number of levels. The bonds are doing a lot out here. So let's get into these numbers and show you what's going on out here. So like I say, the 2-year Treasury is what I always look at because this is what Jay Powell is actually looking at in his determination on where his rate has to be. And so this is melting up in general. As you can see, it's melted up quite a bit here in just the last few days, and so this is causing him all kinds of angst and problems. We have to compare this to the 10 year, excuse me. The 10 year is melting up, and this is a problem for everybody because this is what your rates are set on. They borrow at the 2-year rate, the banks borrow at the 2-year rate, they loan at the 10-year rate. This rate keeps moving up. This is causing you all kinds of problems out here because this is attached to everything that you are indebted to. Credit cards, homes, auto, everything. Okay, so when this melts up, this forces your rates to go up. Okay, and so you're paying more every day for the things that you're indebted to. When you move to the 2 to 10 inversion, as you can see, this is moving in a trench up. Okay, it is going to uninvert here someday, and when it does, that will break the markets, and Jay will have to reassess everything that he's done in the last 2 years because that will mean that they lost their battle. And that will set your 2-year rate, which is your core rate, and that's what Jay's concerned about, is where that's going to end up. And so when this uninverts, depending on where that 2-year is, that's where he's going to have to stay at. And so Jay is struggling with how he's going to get back to 2% core inflation. Now, one thing I will mention here is that core is moving down due to the numbers that the Fed is using, and so it looks like core is coming down in general, but if you actually look at the numbers out here and what they're stripping out in food and rent and mortgages and credit cards and other things like that, you realize that basically you're paying more for everything. And so they're just basically lying to you on the numbers, and they're not giving you the proper optics so you can actually see what's happening out here. And you can determine that every time you go fill your car up or buy your groceries. You can see those prices are constantly moving up. They're not going down. So when the Fed comes out, or they try to explain to you that certain prices are moving down, yes, some prices are deflationary, but that's stuff nobody cares about mostly. Okay, the stuff that you do care about is going up, and it's moving up rapidly. So my concern is once this finally trajectory moves up to the point where it uninverts, then you will run into a problem because that will stabilize the market to a point, but it won't stabilize Jay's rate issue and where he's going to end up and where core is going to end up and how that's going to rise all of our prices. So what this is causing is because your 10 rate's moving up so quickly, it's forcing your 30-year rate and all of your credit cards, auto, and different kind of loans, commercial loans, to basically go up right now based on this chart. And some charts are different because it fluctuates based on the banks. Your 30-year fixed loan is around 7.534%, and that's quite a bit higher than if you'd have took a loan out a few years ago at 3.5 or even 5. If you go in and refinance this, maybe you're on a predatory 7-year loan or something like that, you're going to have to go in and refinance this at about 50% to 33% higher rate than what you originally paid for the home. And so that's a real problem for people if they want to refinance and they're strapped to begin with. They may not have any equity in their house, and in a lot of cases they took a lot of the equity out of their house and did upgrades to their home, so they're indebted on not only a mortgage but an equity loan on the side, which is a higher percentage of rate anyway. So When you get into the energy space and you move into Brent, which is the one I usually look at, you can look at whatever oil you want to, but I look at Brent. It's a good leading indicator. It's been moving up radically, as you can see. If we go into, let's say, a 6 months chart, you can see that oil has moved up rapidly since December. This is causing inflation. And so when they tell you that inflation's going down, when you move from, let's say, $72 a barrel to almost $90 a barrel, fuel's going up. And you can see that at the pump prices, because if you go to the pump prices, they've been expanding and accelerating just in the last 4 to 6 weeks. So, 2, 3 weeks ago, we were at 325 or 335. Now you're at 387, 388 in Illinois is where I live. Mid grades at 440 basically. So, or 436 or 437. So, that's what I mean. This is your inflation. This eats into everything that you do. This forces companies to charge more, forces even fast food and different things like that to cost you more. I see California just raise their minimum wage on their fast food people to $20 an hour. So your Big Macs are going to go way up over there. I'd hate to think what they cost here. I don't eat McDonald's, but anyway, prices are going up, and this is one of the reasons is because you're paying more for fuel. So you're going to have to figure out in your discretionary spending how you're going to pay for your fuel and not pay for other things, or you're going to have to curb your spending away from other things to pay for your fuel and other costs that are going up on all your loans because your rates are moving up at the same time as well as your fuel. So you're getting hit on multiple levels here, guys. So you can look through the lies and listen to Joe Biden and how his Bidenomics has not been working here, and how you're in a worse condition than you've been in years. And so when they talk about how much better it is, you have to realize it's all propaganda, and we have now entered basically Nazi Germany, and they're basically just lying to you at this point. And Joe Biden's the leader of this nightmare, and he's created this mess upon you. So the markets are struggling today on a multiple levels. Bitcoin's down almost $3,700. It's been down more. All markets are struggling today on a lot of levels, except for your commodities like gold and things like that, which are up. But Bitcoin is down, as you can see that. And that, I've talked about how that could hit down around 60. And then if it falls through that 60,000 mark, it could go down to 40, 45. So Bitcoin's not done dumping here. I don't think. We're going to watch that possibly get a lot worse. You might see a little rally, but I believe that's going to start to tank as you work between that April 8th and April 20th date that I keep talking about, and how we're going to watch this transformation of the system into a beast system probably by April 20th, because that's your 1260-day mark to the Feast of Trumpets of 27. At least in my opinion, that could be a real problem for us. But gold is on a tear, folks, and I've been talking about if you want to protect your wealth, you need to move into metals. Probably not necessarily the best time to do it right now. You should have bought back 6 months ago when prices were decent. But look at that. Gold is on a $2,300 high. Okay, this is a high. Okay, you got to understand, we haven't seen 2,300 gold in a long time here. So if ever, you can go back, you can look at the charts, you can understand how the gold prices are constantly. Now it will go down. I'm not saying that it doesn't fluctuate. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the overall chart of gold, it always moves up, and it has for over 5,000 years. So this is probably your best safest bet if you're going to invest in any kind of metals or anything like that is you have a silver price of about $26, and that's pretty good. When I was talking about buying it back in the day, it was between 12 and $17. And so if you'd have bought back then, you would be in a much better place. But I don't know, silver is going to 4x up someday. So even at this rate, it's probably a position to where, with the premium and stuff that you're going to pay, it's under $30. And so it's probably a good investment because once it 4x's up, you can determine what that price might be. And the reason that it will 4x up is because its dispersion between gold is off a lot. It's normally a 20 to 1 dispersion. We have almost a 90 to 1 dispersion here. And so silver will correct someday. And when it does, it's going to go insane. So this could easily be over $100 an ounce. They're suppressing it and the banks, central banks are buying up a lot of gold and silver right now. So you need to pay attention to that and why they're doing that, because everybody's running from the bonds. They don't really know what to do with the bond markets right now because the long end is melting up so quickly. So you have to determine whether you want to sell off the long end and go into the short end or what you want to do there. But right now, this is probably your safe haven that you should be looking at. Now, another thing that we should always be looking at is the oil production in the United States. It's gone up tremendously since Joe Biden's been in office. It's amazing for a man that's supposed to have a green footprint how he's gone from basically 10,446 thousand barrels per day to a point of almost at his max 13,247,000 barrels a day to keep up with his spending, okay? And they're trying to suppress the oil prices here in the United States because Joe Biden's in an election cycle. But that's not going to work, okay? And why isn't that going to work? Because they don't have any strategic reserve left. So this is the other part of your manipulation of inflation. Joe Biden's been dumping the strategic reserve to keep the fuel prices down. But now look what he's done. He's reduced the reserves down to a point where we're struggling to even fill the tanks. Now they were when the prices were down. They had gone down to, the $72. So they were putting a little bit of reserve back in there. Look how low we'd gotten. Okay, so we added a little reserve. You go into a war or something like this, we don't have reserve, and you got $90 to $100 barrel oil. It's going to be pretty hard in our deficit problem that we have in our inflationary environment with our overspending and 34 trillion plus dollars on the books that we're going to be able to easily deal with this. So this is part of the equation as Joe Biden has been dumping oil into the system. And it's amazing for a man that's supposed to be concerned about the global environment, how much oil we're pushing into the system is ridiculous. So Joe can sit there and tell you how he's this environmental conscious person when based on the amount of oil he's pushing onto the market, this cannot be the case. So from the time Joe Biden walked into office, basically, to today, he's upgraded his production of oil tremendously, okay? And this is what I mean. Trump did too, as you can see. So Trump pushed it up. But look, Joe Biden's done more than he has, actually. So he can sit there and talk about how he's not an oil friend, but he is an oil friend because he's pushing more oil out than he ever has in this country. And like I say, just to give you an update on the Dow, it's down about 1% today, or 407.97 points. And so the markets are going to struggle at this point because the numbers are not adding up, and they're realizing now that they probably aren't going to be able to cut more than maybe 2 times this year, if at all. And if your inflation moves up too much, Jay might actually have to raise. If Jay raises, or even sounds like he's going to raise, that will send the markets into a down spiral. So I just wanted to go into a number of these numbers. I want you to realize I've been talking about the markets, how they're going to react to a lot of this stuff. It basically is following what I've been telling you guys. The Dow's been moving up. It moves up regardless of whether you're in a recession or sometimes even a depression. And you can go back and look on those charts during those times and determine that is not a good indicator to determine where you are in time. What you should be looking at are the bonds, and the bonds are going to tell you what the story. And the story is that they're going to uninvert here soon, and when they do, it will break the system, and Jay will then have to drop his rates to zero and then try to print as much money as possible through bonds and other methods to basically get the economy to respur growth by injecting liquidity into the system so that people go out and spend the money, restart the system, but that won't work because it already crashed. So God bless everybody. I just want to bring these numbers. It's extremely important. And look, the Dow's falling. It's going by the end of the day. I don't know where this is going to end. It always corrects in the last hour, and it could get really ugly in the last hour of the market today as we move into the end of the week. And April 8th, which is coming up, guys. Um, you are moving into this calendar quickly. You are at 1,278 days to the Feast of Trumpets of October 2nd right now. April 8th is moving up quickly, and then you have a potential red heifer sacrifice on the 10th of April and a potential signing of a treaty on the 20th to your 1,260 days of October 2nd of 27. So let's keep an eye on all this stuff. God bless. Keep up with everything. It's getting busy out here, guys. But be safe. And I'm also going to put up an article about that Israeli hit in Damascus, which will change the Middle East here soon, because that's going to bring Iran into the this fight much heavier than they were before, because they took out a major leader and they hit a consulate in Damascus from Iran. And so that's an additional story that we should be looking at as Iran tries to determine how they're going to retaliate from that strike that Israel did on Damascus. So like I say, there's so much going on here, guys. It's really hard to keep up with everything. And so I'm just trying to bring all these things to your attention, and I'm trying to report things as I get them to them. So God bless, be safe, put your oil in your lamp. Most important thing, find the open door, find Jesus. He's the only way out of this mess. God bless.